Hello, welcome to the EPG Pathshala program in linguistics. I am Pramod Pandey, Center for Linguistics, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Today we will discuss Module 21st, which deals with phonological processes and their types. We will deal with this topic in two modules, the present one and the following one. The purpose is to make the students familiar with the various types of phonological processes that are found in world languages. In a way, this is to take the students to a glimpse of what lies at the basis of what is common or universal among languages, which vary so much and yet which are similar to one another. Why should we study phonological process types? There are various reasons for us to study types of phonological processes. Number one, the types of phonological processes, as I mentioned before, are finite in number. The study of typological processes, I repeat, gives you an idea of what is common amongst world languages. The second reason why phonological types of processes are, I'll repeat, the second reason why types of phonological processes should be studied is that these types are also found discussed in the literature or in the fields related to linguistics, namely psychoneurolinguistics, historical change, speech pathology, language acquisition, so that students of phonology should be familiar with these processes when they are in contact with these disciplines. The third reason why types of phonological processes should be studied is that in the course of linguistic analysis, especially when students carry out analyses of unknown languages, new languages, they are required to name the phonological processes that are found in the languages. It is thus necessary for students to be familiar with the typology so that they are able to discuss these phenomena correctly or properly. There are two main types of phonological processes to begin with. These are, let's call them whole segment processes and modification type processes. The whole segment processes are those which are concerned with sounds as phonemes. These deal with the insertion, deletion of a phoneme, the change from one phoneme type to another phoneme type, etc. These are listed on the screen. Insertion, deletion, syllabication, desyllabication, coalescence, metathesis. These are the main processes that can be termed whole segment processes. Let us take a look at them one by one. These are the main types of processes that can be termed whole segment processes. Let us take a look at them one by one. Insertion takes place when one or more segment is added in a morpheme or a word. These are of the following types: prothesis, which involves insertion at the beginning of a word. For example, the loan word school adapted into Garhwali as school, or in some varieties of other Indic languages. Epenthesis is insertion taking place in the middle of a word. For example, in Punjabi, the word school is pronounced as sakul. The insertion of the vowel a is between sa and ka. The third type of insertion is excrescence. The second type of insertion process is called epenthesis. Epenthesis is of two types, one which involves epenthesis of a vowel and the other which involves epenthesis of a consonant. The epenthesis of a vowel is called anaptixis and the epenthesis of a consonant is called excrescence. Examples are given on the screen. For example, the Punjabi pronunciation of the word school is sakul. There is insertion of the vowel in the middle in this word. And in some languages you have a consonant added within a word. That did not exist before. For example, in Gondi, given two morphemes son and oos, which means to lose, we have a d inserted within the word, and so son oos is pronounced as son dus. We say d and excrescence. The third type of insertion is paragoge, which means insertion at the end of a word. This is a very common process in world languages that do not like words to end in consonants. For example, Japanese is well known. All the loan word adaptations from English, such as bus as basu or book as buku, are well known. We also have this phenomenon in many of Dravidian languages, for example Tamil and Kannada. Let's take a look at some of the words from Tamil where there is u added at the end of words. So kor, koru to collect, and pal, palu to milk, and so on. The second type of whole segment process is deletion. Deletion takes place when a phoneme or a segment is elided from a word. This again, just like insertion, is of three types. When deletion takes place at the beginning of a word, it is called aphesis or aphresis. When it takes place in the middle of a word, it is called apocopy. Let's take a look at the examples given as illustration of these processes. Syllabication is the name of the third process involving whole segments. Syllabication takes place when a consonant comes to occupy the position of nucleus in a syllable. This typically happens when a vowel is elided, as a result of which a consonant, typically a sonorant consonant such as a nasal or a lateral, becomes syllabic. For example, we have the Tibeto-Burman language called Chokri, in which we see that a nasal consonant is syllabicated. For example, there's given a word such as mabo. When the schwa is dropped, we hear mbo, which means kiss, and similarly madi becomes ndi. As you notice here, the bilabial plosive assimilates to the following consonant, and so we get ndi to mean to lose. English is well known for syllabic consonants, as we have discussed earlier. Words such as bottom, bottle, etc. are those in which consonants such as ma, na, ra and la are syllabified. We call them rather syllabicated. They become from non-syllabic consonants, they become syllabic consonants. The opposite of syllabication is desyllabification. As you can see, what it means is that when a syllabic sound is desyllabified, that means a vowel becomes a semi-vowel typically, or some such change takes place. We have the data to illustrate desyllabification. Some examples are given here. For example, of the languages Bhili and Ao. So thus Kati plus A becomes Katya, Topi plus A becomes Topya as a plural word of these nouns, meaning stick and cap. Similarly, in ao, when two vowels come together, then in ao, like in many other languages, the second vowel is desyllabicated. That means it is no more treated as a vowel, but rather as a consonant. You have the examples given here. Another whole segment process of great interest is coalescence. Coalescence is the emergence of a third sound from the merging of two sounds. This is found at various levels. Some examples of Sanskrit vowel sandhi are given to you on the screen. A plus E become A, plus E also become A plus U become O, plus U become O. So what we notice in these cases is that two vowels such as A and E, when they coalesce, a third vowel emerges such as A. For example, Rama plus Ish is Ramesh, Maha plus Utsav is Mahotsav. These are excellent examples of vowel coalescence. An interesting case also, some more examples of vowel coalescence are found in other Indian languages. We have here examples from a Tibeto-Burman language called Paite. You look at the examples given on the screen. These are all examples of compound words, which is a common phenomenon in Tibeto-Burman languages. So when derivation takes place, vowel sequences such as ua become o, ia become a. The examples here illustrate. They also have tone marks on them. A well-known example of consonant coalescence is also given. This is from Indonesian language and discussed in Halle and Clemens, the problem book that you have looked at. As we said, coalescence is of much interest because of its wide prevalence across various types of phonological segments. As an example of coalescence of tones, we have here examples from the African language Hausa. Take a look at the representation of the words in which the tone coalescence takes place. In the first word, we have a high tone, and a low tone, given on three different syllables. Now, when the one of the syllables at the end is dropped, what we get is a third type of tone emerging. So we have a high tone and a falling tone, namely HL tone. This is a new tone. It was not found in the word before. In the word before, we had high tone, low tone, and now we have high tone and a falling tone. Metathesis takes place when the order of segments changes. For example, in Gondi, we have Kabdur Ang pronounced as Kabudrang. The second major type of phonological processes is modification processes. Modification processes typically increase the number of allophones by modifying existing segments. These are of various types. For example, co-occurrence, co-articulation, manner of articulation, place of articulation, transitional phonological modification type processes, laryngeal type processes, syllable based processes, articulatory processes. It should be noted that the examples of the various types of processes may sometimes overlap from one type to another. So the first type of modification processes that we are going to consider are those that are co-occurrence type modification processes. These are 3 in number: assimilation, vowel harmony, and dissimilation. Assimilation takes place when a segment takes features of a neighboring segment and thus becomes more like the neighboring segment. These are of 2 main subtypes. One dealing with the types of features that are assimilated, and the other is the direction in which the assimilation takes place. The features, phonetic features which are assimilated. Based on the phonetic features which are assimilated, we have assimilation of 3 main types. One, single feature assimilation. As you can see here in Sanskrit, a voiceless segment becomes voiced when it occurs before a voiced segment. So Sat Bhav becomes Sad Bhav. This is a single feature segment assimilation. The other is a partial assimilation, which takes place when more than one segment, more than one feature is assimilated. For example, in Hindi, a nasal consonant takes the place features of a following plosive. So we have a bilabial nasal before a bilabial plosive, a dental nasal before a dental plosive, a retroflex nasal before a retroflex plosive, and so on. The examples are given here, such as Champa, Ghanta, Chanchal, Shanka, etc. Now, all these, because they involve more than one place, so we have this termed as partial assimilation. And then finally we have total assimilation, when one segment becomes totally like a neighboring segment. For example, in Pali, the Sanskrit word patra became patta, where the ra following a ta became a ta. This is a common phenomenon, especially found in many Dravidian languages, such as Telugu, for example, is well known for total assimilation. Based on the direction of change, assimilation is of 2 main types: progressive assimilation and regressive assimilation. Progressive assimilation takes place when this following segment assimilates to the preceding segment. For example, if we have a retroflex nasal followed by a dental plosive, if the dental plosive becomes retroflex, then it is an example of progressive assimilation. Regressive assimilation is the opposite of progressive assimilation, where a preceding sound becomes like a following sound. The examples are given on your screen. Vowel harmony. Vowel harmony, in fact, is a type of assimilation, but it involves only vowels. When vowels in a word are more like each other, we have vowel harmony. Many Indic languages such as Telugu and Bangla, and languages outside India such as Korean and Turkish are well known for vowel harmony. A very simple case of vowel harmony is found in a dialect of Arabic. In this dialect, verbs are classified into 2 types, the A type and the E type. In A type verbs, all the vowels are A, and in the E type verbs, all the vowels are E. This is an extreme case of vowel harmony, but this case sufficiently illustrates what is meant by vowel harmony. We have examples given here on the screen. We have Katabat, Kataba, Shiribit, Shiribi. As you notice, we have in these words either A or E vowels. Dissimilation. The term means the opposite of assimilation. That means when a sound becomes less like a neighboring sound, we have dissimilation. This is also found amongst both segmental and suprasegmental phenomena. We have some examples on the screen. Thus you notice that in Paite, when a nasal is followed by a nasal, then one of them becomes a plosive. We also have dissimilation of tones. When two similar tones occur together, one of them becomes different from the neighboring one. For example, a well-known case of this in this language called Tianjin, where we have rising tones, LH, they become high tone and a rising tone. So a rising tone sequence changes to a high tone and a rising tone throughout, you will notice, and a low tone sequence becomes a rising tone, low tone sequence. The examples are given on the screen. A major type of modification type processes is the co-articulation type of modification processes. In co-articulation, normally the articulations of the adjacent segments have overlap. That means that the following segment may be already affecting a preceding segment and vice versa. One major type of co-articulation modification type is secondary articulation that we have looked at before. Processes such as labialization, palatalization, velarization are examples of co-articulation type of modification type processes. We are not going to give examples here because we have discussed them at sufficient length in the previous modules. So in addition to secondary articulation as a co-articulation type, we also have places of articulation changes, manner of articulation changes, etc. Co-articulation involving change in the place of articulation. These are the following type, such as retraction, advancement, centralization. Co-articulation involving a change in the manner of articulation are of the following types: affrication, approximatization, flapping, occlusion, prenasalization, nasal release, and so on. They are given in the accompanying text. The processes of co-articulation involving change in the place of articulation. Retraction. As the term suggests, the tongue moves inward in the vocal tract for retraction. For example, in Assamese, alveolar consonants are retracted to and retroflexed before r. Words such as satra means student becomes satra under the influence of ra. So ta moves inside the vocal tract, becomes a retroflex. That is, ta, an alveolar sound moves, becomes a retroflex, is movement inward in the vocal tract. Advancement is the opposite, when the tongue moves forward, that is outward in the vocal tract. For example, we have in Gondi, a retroflex consonant becomes an alveolar or dental consonant. Just the opposite of the example in Assamese. We have kan, dir, or kan, dir becoming kan, dir. So a retroflex consonant affects an dental consonant to become alveolar. So a retroflex consonant affects a dental consonant to become a retroflex consonant. Centralization, when the tongue moves towards the center in the vocal tract. We have examples of vowels becoming centralized in Oriya. The examples are given on the screen. So the vowels E, U, A, O are centralized to something like E, U, A, O in words having retroflex stops. Now the co-articulation types involving a change in the manner of articulation. These are many in number. We take a look at them one by one. Affrication. A plosive or a fricative becomes an affricate. In Lepcha, a Tibeto-Burman language, sir becomes a ch, following an alveolar nasal n or a plosive th. Sir becoming ch is thus an example of affrication. You could think of other possible types of affrication, such as a k becoming a ch, a very common process in Indo-Aryan languages. Approximatization takes place when a non-approximant sound becomes an approximant sound, such as w or ya. We have many examples of b becoming a w or a j becoming a ya. Some examples are given here. In Limbu, for example, b becomes w optionally, such as nuba is pronounced as nua. Budhabar is pronounced as bodhavar. This is an optional case. Flapping takes place when a sound is pronounced as a flap. A most common example found across Indic languages is of the voiced retroflex plosive d pronounced as a r. In many Indian languages you find this happening. For example, in Hindi, ghoda is the phonemic representation. Now between two vowels such as o and a, you never find a d, it becomes a ra. Ghadi is another example of flapping. Occlusion is not a very common phenomenon. However, occlusion is found in some Indic languages such as Malayalam. What it means is that when a non-plosive sound becomes a plosive sound. In Malayalam, you find a geminate r, that is, when r occurs twice, it becomes a geminate th. We have examples such as the following. Ari means cooled intransitive verb is ara, but arri, cooled transitive verb, is pronounced as ati. Similarly, ara means river, but aril becomes atil. Now in Malayalam, geminate rs are always pronounced as geminate ths. That means a trill is occluded in Malayalam between two vowels. Prenasalization, when a consonant comes to have a nasal onset, we have prenasalization. Thus, in a Tibeto-Burman language, Rawang, we find that a b or a d has a nasal consonant beginning the consonant. So b is pronounced as b, a d is pronounced as d. The examples are given on the screen. The opposite of prenasalization is nasal release, where the plosives, when they are released, they have a nasal consonant at the end, such as the, when it is released, it is heard as dna, or a b released, it is heard as ma. We have examples of these on the screen. In Mundari, b and the have a nasal release optionally. They also have optional pre-glottalization. A common type of change of manner of articulation is spirantization, that is, a plosive becoming a fricative. That is, for example, a k becomes a kh, a p becomes a f, a t becomes a s. Examples illustrating spirantization are the following. In Tamil, k becomes kh, so thus pakal becomes pakal, means day. Makan is pronounced as makhan, means sun, in some varieties of Tamil. We also have modification types involving tapping. That means a sound such as a trill is pronounced as a tap, and trilling, a sound which is not a trill such as a tap, is is trilled. That means it is pronounced with several tappings. Examples are given on the screen. So we have come close to the first part of the discussion of the various types of phonological processes. These were essentially whole segment type processes and some of the modification type processes. The modification type processes are large in number. As I said, they lead to addition of new allophones in the sound system of a language. They are of great interest in various fields such as language acquisition, language pathology, and sound change. Thank you.